Good afternoon. Welcome to 4 counterintuitive change management secrets that get your software used in record time, a webinar by your friends here at Tritons Consulting in Bethesda, Maryland. Our co-presenters today are Tritons CEO, Jason Whitehead, and our Vice President of Client Success, Jen McLean-Rogan. If you have any difficulty on audio, please give us a hand raise on the application so we know you're having difficulty. If not, we'll be proceeding in just a moment.
Hi everyone, this is Jason Whitehead. I'm the CEO of Tritons. Thank you for joining us today for the 4 counterintuitive change management secrets that get your software used in record time. We're really excited to have you here and we appreciate you joining us. Just a quick kickoff to the session today. We wanted to let you know a little bit about what we're going to be covering and the format for our webinar. We're going to speak briefly about who we are as presenters and as a company, just to give you a sense of perspective and what we bring to it. And then we're going to talk a little bit about why we're here and then jump right into the 4 secrets and then share with you some next steps if you're interested in learning more and other ways that you can keep the conversation going on this topic. To let you know how we've organized these sessions, these are 30-minute webinars that we host, and we try to keep them really fast and focused, and we move right along quickly. We've had a lot of feedback from folks that an hour is just too long, and people want to get on with their day. So we want to go through and cover as many topics at a very high level as we possibly can. Also, we want to invite you as we're going through to please type in any questions you might have into the chat window, and we'll try and get to those at the end of the session. So you don't need to wait to the end to enter your questions. As soon as it pops to mind, please enter it in the window and we'll get to it. And if we run out of time before we cover all the questions, because sometimes we have quite a few, we will be emailing out responses to everyone as well too. So we'll make sure we do get your questions answered. So thank you for joining us. Let's jump right in. I guess also, as a quick sound check, if you guys are out there, if you can hear us okay, if you could click the raise your hand button, we just want to make sure that everyone's able to hear everything. Great, okay, thank you so much, I appreciate that. That's good stuff. So just jumping right in to who we are, as I said, my name is Jason Whitehead, I'm the CEO. To let you know a little bit about my background, I've been working in IT projects for well over 20 years. And in the early part of my career, I was very focused on getting systems live from a technical perspective, doing business analysis, process mapping, all that great stuff, and getting the technology up and implemented. And then really I had a job one day where I was focused not just on getting it live, but making sure that people were using it and delivering value from the use of the system. And that became my passion area, and that really became the focus of why I decided to branch out and focus on Tritons. Is for so many projects and for so many years, getting the technology live was the easy part, but getting people to really adopt it in their day-to-day work habits was the hard part, and being able to demonstrate the value that the system brings was very, very challenging. So that became my passion area, and that became the mission of Tritons, and we've been doing this exclusively at Tritons since 2006, and moving forward, I'm looking forward to some really good years to come. And with that, I'll turn it over to my co-presenter, Jen McLean-Rogan.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jen McLean-Rogan. I'm the Vice President of Client Success here at Tritons. I've been in the IT and user adoption field for about 18 years now with an educational background in business administration and organizational development. And I would say the theme of my career has really been enterprise-wide technology implementations. And I've both witnessed and experienced personally the struggle that comes with trying to incorporate new technology into your daily practices. As a result, I've made it my career mission to help people overcome those barriers that often get in the way of effectively using technology and, more importantly, gaining value from it.
Thanks, Jen. And just real quick, a quick overview of Tritons as an organization. We work with both buyers and sellers of software to make sure that both are successful. What's very exciting in this fast-paced world of cloud systems and subscription software is we're finding more and more that neither the buyer nor the seller can be successful if the other one isn't. And where they're struggling is making sure that people are using the software and getting that value and closing that value loop. So on the buyer side, we help organizations internally quickly establish user adoption programs and implement them and accelerate adoption and then help them keep it going year after year so that they actually can demonstrate the value they're getting from their software investments. And then on the software seller side, we work with seller organizations to help them develop the strategies and programs and services they need to deliver to their customers so that their customers are successful. And really, Tritons is sort of that glue that holds both the buyers and sellers together so both are successful. So with that said, I'm going to turn this over to Jen, and she'll share a little bit more about why we are here.
So why are we here? We're here because of change. For one, the need for change, because if we don't change, then we become obsolete and swallowed whole by our competition. And of course, the speed of change. Software is being developed and deployed at such a record pace right now, and it feels like it's moving so fast that we're all just running behind and we're trying to keep up. But we can't, because we're human, and technology will continue to move faster than we can, which of course is leading to some very expensive problems for both software customers and software vendors alike, which is not being able to create the value that you expected from that software because it's sitting idle and it's not being used. It's just coming at us too quickly. So this continuous and fast pace of technological change is forcing us, whether we like it or not, to adapt and to change our methods for implementing software to get it used as intended and creating that value for both your people individually as well as your organization as a whole. Or we could just hope for a miracle and not change at all, which probably won't work out so well. So that's why we're here. We're here to help organizations who know they need to change to be competitive and to be successful with technology, but they aren't quite sure how to do it right or how to do it fast or how to do it with minimal effort. Which brings us to our 4 counterintuitive change management secrets to getting your software used in record time. And Jason's going to start us off with secret number 1.
Great, thanks, Jen. Yep. So the first secret is to focus on what happens after go live instead of getting to go live. You know, for so many years, we've been told that you just need some change management to prepare people and get the organization ready for the software, and you train them up, and then they'll be live, and it'll be great, and everything will be wonderful, and you build it, they will come if you do all that preparation activity. And in reality, what we're finding is, no, it's not what happens before that matters, it's what happens afterwards that matters. So the first secret is to focus on both what happens at that transition time and during that initial ramp up when people are first learning to change their day-to-day work, and then making sure that you keep it year after year and keep people using the software. And one other thing that I think really sticks out with this, focusing on what happens after go live, what a lot of organizations forget is that when you're focused on preparing users, you're really only looking at your current user base. So when you do all the work beforehand, you know, you get everyone ready for that initial transition, but when you look that most software systems are in organizations 3, 5, 10 years or more, your user base turns over a lot in that time. People get hired and retired and transferred and promoted and all that good stuff, and you need to quickly get all new users adopting the software quickly and keep them using it well. And that's really tough to do 5, 7 years down the road if you don't have a program in place to help drive that initial adoption. So when you take the long-term view and you focus on what happens after go live, then you open up yourself to a whole lot of possibility of things that you can do to really accelerate adoption and add value creation from the software. So when we look at what typically happens with that change management focus, it really is that upfront view. You build the software, you deploy the software, you train some users, and you try and tell people how they're going to benefit from it, and then you just sort of stop there. And typically it's just money down the drain. At some point you'll get a few people to use the system, and that's always exciting. But you don't usually get everyone using it. You don't always get a lot of people using it effectively together in concert, especially for those enterprise systems. Like if you have a collaboration software, it's really important that everyone use the software well together in an orchestrated fashion, and typically that doesn't happen with this traditional change management approach. And when that is the case, you also tend to get a lot of bad data in the system because everyone's putting things in a different way that makes sense to them but not makes sense to everyone else, or doesn't operate in a way that others can get full value of the system. So with that said, the success really happens after go live. And when we look at this image that we've shared many times with organizations, and we always get great reactions, it's really you spend a lot of time up front building software and getting systems live and tested and out the door, and you focus on this go live period. And when your change effort stops there, all you've really done is maximize your sunk costs and you've maximized your investment, but you haven't gotten any value yet. By focusing on what happens afterwards, you can quickly get people up this recovery curve and quickly get to those benefits that you're looking to achieve. And that's why it's so important to focus on that after go live piece. And just to sort of sum it up, the big question becomes, so why would you focus all of your effort before go live when all the value is created afterwards? And that's really your opportunity. So that's secret number one, is to focus on what happens after go live.
And I think in our experience, a lot of clients we've worked with have really underestimated the amount of money it costs them to be focused getting to go live instead of after. There is that opportunity cost of that software is sitting idle. Nobody's using it. And that's costing you year after year.
Absolutely.
And if you're doing that with numerous systems, that can really add up.
You're absolutely right. And Jen, it's really critical for the sellers of software too, because it's in that after go live period that their clients determine if they're getting the value that they expected from their investment, and that's when they decide if they're going to renew their licenses or dramatically cut back or cancel altogether. So as a software seller, you've got to make sure your customers are focused on creating that adoption and value after go live and not just getting the system out the door.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And our secret number 2 is focus on actual use of the system instead of the functionality of the system. And I'll explain that. So the simple fact is getting your technology to work is relatively easy. Technology basically does what you tell it to do. Getting people to work with your technology, on the other hand, is hard. It's very hard if you don't know what you're doing. And a great quote that we say a lot and heard at a conference was, it's not the software that fails, it's the fleshware. Because let's face it, learning new ways of working is hard for us all. And introducing new technology, even a simple system, it kicks off this chain reaction of change within an organization where people need to unlearn old ways of working and develop new habits that incorporate that technology into their daily practices. And we often find that companies don't plan for that. They don't plan for the time and the effort that it takes to enable and support your people in adopting software. Yeah. So the sort of rule of thumb that we throw out there is think about it in like a 20-80 rule. So 20% of your time should be put toward making sure your technology works the way it's supposed to work. And then the other 80% is really putting that structure in place to help your people. For example, clearly defining the expectations for system use and clearly defining policies and processes for doing your job differently with this software. All of that takes time. It does take effort, and it needs to be started well before the software goes live.
Absolutely.
And then as you can see from this picture, just because you design a good system, it doesn't mean your users are going to adopt it. This is because user adoption is not a technical issue. It's a business issue, and it's a human issue. And one of the biggest mistakes that you can make is, one, assume that if you build a great intuitive system and then train people on it, they'll use it. And two, if people don't use it, then it's a technical issue. In our experience working with clients, we've seen incredibly complex systems get adopted, and we've seen simple, user-friendly, intuitive systems not get adopted. And the reason is because they didn't focus on the right things. They weren't focused on helping end users change their work practices to get long-term value from the system.
Absolutely. That's great. Thanks. Okay, which then brings us to secret number 3, which is to, sorry to back up here, focus on two-way engagement instead of just one-way communication. Wow, this is so key. It really is. So for years and years, people have been told you've got to tell people on what's in it for me. You've got to, quote, sell them on the benefits of the system. And for years after years, we've seen that approach just fall flat. It just is not the most effective thing. What we have found is that you definitely need to tell people what's going to change, and you need to show them how you hope this will deliver business benefits. But what you really need to explain to them is, what are the expectations for how it will change your job, how you will be used, how you can be successful. And where people get into trouble with the what's in it for me message is they don't actually understand what's important to me. They don't listen to the users to know what are the motivational aspects that are meaningful in their day-to-day jobs that they really want to get out of an improvement effort like a new system. The other piece, because we look at both the motivation but also the ability side, and we also find that normally there are a lot of organizational barriers that prevent people from using the system if they want to. And if you engage them properly, and if you ask them the right questions, they'll let you know what are those barriers that you can remove for them. And they will let you know what are the things that you can do to help encourage their adoption and get through that. But that doesn't happen just from trying to talk to people very loudly and one directionally of the, what's in it for me and selling them on it. You very is really what are the blind spots. On so many projects that we've been on, we hear, wow, we just never saw this coming. We didn't expect people to react this way. We didn't think that they would have so many problems adopting the system. We had no idea this was out there. And part of that is when you're busy focused on one-way communications, you're not really listening and you're not understanding. So it becomes, how did we miss those? Well, probably our approach. We've also found, related to that, how you get there matters. Because it's not how fast you get a message out, it's how many people you bring with you in adopting your system. Because only through getting critical mass of effective adoption do you get that ROI that you need. The right engagement approach can do a lot to get you there.
And this is, I think, one of the most powerful secrets that we have, and that is this two-way engagement. It's something that you can't start too early and you can't do it too often. The more you engage with your people, your stakeholders, the better prepared you're going to be at go live and post go live. So you want to do it early on. Don't wait.
Right.
That's a big mistake that we see a lot of people make. Your time is very well spent on engaging with your stakeholders and taking that methodical approach to it. It's really that important, and we just see it not done very often.
Right. And I think to your point, Jen, too, it's the also how you do it matters in the sense of creating that network for engagement and making sure you're using your managers and supervisors and leaders in your organization effectively, not just to carry the message, but to be the people who bring the information back to you. And teaching them to engage people more effectively has been critical. It's been very interesting working with especially people who are new to being a supervisor and new to being a manager. They need a lot of help knowing how to engage with their team. And by focusing a lot of your efforts there, there's a multiplier effect, and it really can make a huge difference on the overall adoption rate.
Most managers will not know how to drive adoption. That is something that you really do need to provide them assistance with, and giving them the right tools and the right knowledge and understanding the right actions that they need to take to be successful in their role as a manager. That would probably be our fifth secret if we had one, is making sure that your managers are equipped to facilitate and drive adoption.
Great. Okay.
Okay, but going into the fourth one. The fourth secret is focus on user success instead of user resistance. So we often find that in working with leaders that they turn to training as a solution when they realize that they're having some user adoption issues. And unfortunately, training is rarely the problem. And it's not really enough to get people to use a system, because with traditional training, it's typically focused on point-and-click system training via the classroom, manuals, online training, cheat sheets, whatever you use. It's rarely focused on how your job functions are changing as a result of that technology and the new practices that are needed across the organization to really get value from that system. And rushing to implement training before you identify what are the root causes of your adoption issues is truly a great way to waste a lot of time and money without getting the results you want and need. For example, it costs you money to develop and deliver the training. It costs you money to pay your people to be in the training class. And there's the opportunity cost associated with the time people are in training and not performing other important functions. So it's really, really important that you match your adoption activities to your users' needs. And most people don't know how to do that beyond providing training and some communications. And that's where we help our clients. We help them identify what the actual needs are and the specific combination of actions that will fulfill those needs, accelerate user adoption, and get value.
Yeah. Jen, one of the scenarios I often throw out to executives when I'm talking with them is say, hey, picture yourself, you've got a system that the technology is working fine, it's 2 years after go live, but adoption is low and you're not getting the value that you expected from it. What specific actions would you take over the next 3 to 6 months to increase adoption? And if you've already done your communication on selling people on the benefits, if you've already trained people, your typical tools in the chest, and it hasn't worked, what do you do then? And typically they struggle to know what are those activities they can do, what are the levers they can pull, because their go-to move is that training and that selling people. And without that, they really struggle. And I think usually that's a sign that you need to bring in some other ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. And then many people fall into this trap of blaming the users for not adopting systems, when oftentimes, and Jason, you've mentioned this a little earlier, there are organizational barriers that fall outside of the user's control that prevent them from adopting the system even if they want to. We had mentioned the bad data. If there's bad data or no data in the system, it's going to be hard for someone to use that system to do their job. If people are too busy to use a new system or change their work practices, then that's a management issue, and leadership needs to adjust goals and priorities in the short term to get the results that are needed in the long term. And it's important to remember that blaming poor user adoption on user resistance, it may be convenient, but it may not be accurate. Take that term, user resistance, as a sign that something got missed along the way and that you have more work to do to find out what needs to be addressed. It's a term that we hear thrown around a lot. So the next time you hear someone use that term, user resistance, ask that person to specify what actions did they observe, what made them determine that it was resistance, and suggest other explanations or other factors like organizational barriers that might be preventing the adoption. It might not be that person resisting the software. They might actually really want to use it.
Right.
There's just a barrier. There's something, an obstacle that's getting in the way of them using that system effectively.
Yep, one of the favorite quotes that I heard years ago, and I really love it, is we judge ourselves by our intentions, but we judge others by their actions. And so often on client projects, we see people using the resistance. They've made a judgment, and they've said, I saw this action, this person didn't show up to a meeting, they didn't enter it in the system, they entered it part way, but not well, whatever it may be, but they observed a behavior, or they observed an action, and they said, that's resistance.
Yeah.
But hey, when I do that, I meant to do it well, but I was busy, I ran out of time, I had 3 other things come up at the last minute that I wasn't expecting, but I really wanted to do it the right way, and I feel badly. And so that's where I think it's so important that you sort of gut check yourself, and then to your point, investigate your assumptions.
Yeah.
That's really key. Okay. So those were our 4 quick and dirty secrets that are counterintuitive but incredibly powerful for driving software adoption success. Before we go into just a couple of next steps with you, I want to invite everyone again, if you have questions or things that you would like to have answered, we've got a couple online already, but we encourage you to go ahead and submit your questions in the chat window, and we'll see how many we can get in the time remaining. But real quick, just to summarize for me, I wanted to sort of share with you guys, in this fast-paced, evolving world, here's just a quick reminder, traditional change management efforts, a lot of what people have been doing for years and have saying this is what you have to do, it typically doesn't have the result that people expect. And this is where our themes of, following up after and focusing on what happens after go live, engaging people, not with the what's in it for me message, trying not to blame the user, all those pieces come into play here, because really when you take this approach, the typical result is you're disappointed in the amount of adoption and you're disappointed in the value that you've gotten from the system. And if you're an internal software user, it looks badly for you guys and you're just not getting the business value that you need. And if you're a software seller, you're probably not going to get the levels of renewal that you need. Either customers will drop it completely or really dramatically cut down the licenses because people don't pay for things that aren't generating value for them. So just a quick theme there, and now I'll turn it over to Jen.
So here you'll see just a list of questions to help you consider whether or not you're on the right path to success. So for example, is getting to go live your measure of success? Are you focused on traditional change management instead of software adoption? Are you more focused on the technology than changing work practices? Are you more focused on one-way communication instead of 2? And are you more focused on user resistance than user success? If you find that as you think through these questions, your answers to these questions is yes, then you're probably wasting time and money on activities that don't work, and it would be worthwhile to consider letting us help you achieve the immediate and long-term results that you want and that you need from your software. We do have a variety of consulting and training services to meet our clients' unique needs, budget, and timeline. We have both in-person and online training courses, as well as a number of fast and effective consulting packages. Program development, program implementation, program management, and program optimization for both accelerated software adoption and profitable customer success. I also want to note here that we are hosting 2 Ask the Expert sessions on Thursday, October 27th. And during these sessions, we're going to provide more information on this webinar topic, a couple more secrets, as well as answer all of your questions. One session will be at 10 a.m. Eastern Time and 2 p.m. Eastern Time as well. You can get more information and sign up via our Tritons Academy on our new website at www.tritons.com. And if you have questions, please give us a call. We always welcome the opportunity to talk with you and help you and your organization succeed and gain value from your technology.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. Well, I see in the interest of time that we've pretty much come to the conclusion. We do have several questions that we really don't have time to go into today, but we will be getting those answers out to everyone so that they can enjoy them. Thank you so much for joining us. We have another webinar coming up in November and in December as well. Again, the same fast and focused format, and we hope this is helpful and enjoyable. And please join us again soon. So thank you very much for joining us. Have a good one. Bye now.